Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this spinning pea. This is the Dynasty Stock Market brought to you by Fast Draft. If you like drafting and you want to draft faster with Fast Draft. Use code BOOTH for a $50 deposit match and get your best ball stuff in order over the summer. Super fun games. I'm Biggs. He is Key. We are here. We're going to do a mock draft of rookies. I've finished a couple of rookie mocks so far. I still have
Just a
some
couple? Come
on the
on, man.
horizon.
Those are rookie numbers.
A few. Still have more on the horizon, and it's been kind of interesting to see where things play out. We're pretty chalk for the first 6, 7, 8 picks, but it's really been fun to see the risers and fallers, like who's coming up into the second round that wasn't, who's falling back and is available in the third round. So we're going to look at all that today. And we are glad to have you here and watching the show. Jamie Pirog's in the house. Coach
Hey,
Redcliffe's in the house.
what's up? And in the draft.
What's up, you guys? I do want to point out real quick, maybe my favorite sleeper handle so far. Say Watt again.
Nice.
Say Watt again. I love it. Little ode to Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction and J.J. Watt or T.J. Watt if you play IDP.
Yeah,
Or Derek
and
Watt if you love fullbacks.
or if you're one of those people that likes to draft retired people, JJ Watt. So a lot of Tom Brady drafters out there, and I'm about 11 drafts in. Started a rookie one yesterday, got another one home league this upcoming weekend. So excited for that. Only got my second title this past season out of 9 years. So trying to repeat here.
Yeah.
Biggs on the clock already at 101. We had Ashton Genty. I took him. I'm at the one spot. Then Coach, he went ahead and took Omari Hampton. And shout out to Coach and Chev. They got a new show coming out, I believe, in the next week or so called The Crossover. Go check that out. They're going to be cross referencing ADPs across different fantasy platforms and taking away some insights that they'll share with you guys. So be tuned in for that. And yeah, man. Other than that, on the main player profiler channel, Matty Kiwoom is back. He's coming back tomorrow.
Sweet.
With future cast. So he's going to be breaking down the quarterbacks for this rookie class in this next episode and breaking down everything, including the 2026 players you got to be watching out for pretty soon as well. And before we get out of this first round, wanted to make sure you guys are just locked and loaded for these drafts this June. So for a lot of people, they're primed and ready to roll. And man, to help me get a lot of those dynasties that I've built in titles, I did lean on some of the Dynasty Deluxe tools here. So check this out.
If you play in Dynasty, you need Dynasty Deluxe, our premium package for Dynasty Leaguers. We rank over 300 players, updated every week, all year long. And there's a win now mode and a rebuild mode with Superflex and tight end premium controls. And a Dynasty League sync where you can say, sync down all of my sleeper teams, all my FFPC teams. And then you can browse around your leagues for who has needs. And then you can use our trade finder to see what kinds of trades are happening in leagues that are similar to the one I want to do. Then you can analyze trades using our trade analyzer, which balances the lifetime value, which includes pick values out to like 2028. All of that plus the rookie guide, $25 value is included. So if you're just in one Dynasty League, Dynasty Deluxe is well worth it. And use your host's promo code, and you can bump up to all in and get $25 off.
Yeah, man. So we're back. Dynasty Stock Market. Hey, tapped in, man, because we're figuring it all out right here. I'm on the clock, so I'm gonna let Biggs take it away here. I'm at the 201.
So I've been noticing Travis Hunter, who was in preseason early or pre-draft early mocks, he seemed to be going higher than that 5 spot. He was in the 2-3 range, and I've watched him fall. A lot of that, I'm pretty sure, is due to the fact that his landing spot was with the Jaguars. He's the presumptive wide receiver 2 behind Brian Thomas Jr. He's going to be playing some coach. Just sniped me.
Well, the word
blind.
starts with CO. He's going to be playing some cornerback. And I had an IDP rookie draft where I traded up one spot to make sure I locked in Travis Hunter. I was at the 103. I took over an orphan last season, and I ended up at the 103, and then I trade up to 102. I take them, and our scoring is pretty juiced. So you're getting points for everything: assisted tackles, passes just blocked, interceptions are like worth a touchdown. Dang, like you're getting points out the wazoo, not even counting what he might do on offense. So
And that doesn't like that clears it. Like that makes it absolutely clear that Travis Hunter is the target. I'm in a league where his cornerback points are going to make him the highest scoring player in that league every single season. So I have the 101. I'm definitely smashing Travis Hunter, and I'm trying to move up to grab Genti at the 2. But getting that 2 is going to take quite a bit. I have an offer out there that is pretty rich. 26 first, probably 5 players for this rebuilding team that had the 102. And they have a lot of expiring assets. They were competitive the first year of this dynasty. They won the first year of the dynasty because everybody drafted in the startup as if they were playing for the future, and this owner drafted for win now. So she did, and everybody on her team is just an expiring asset, and she needs a rebuild really bad. So I've put in like five young players and 2 or 3 draft picks that are pretty valuable, and we'll see if she bites. But
he could be a cheat code, man.
Most of this is kind of.
Well, I was kind of shocked to get a Mecca Buka at the 2-1. Luther Burden rising there. I happen to be on the clock right now, and I don't think this is a controversial pick. What I'm about to make, Jalen Milroe. I feel like he's actually been rising a little bit because we've seen the injuries happen. I love an offseason where everyone thinks, oh man, everyone's gonna be healthy this season. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
But we see that doesn't happen, and even Sam Darnold's final game wasn't amazing or anything. So who knows? Kind of a upside dart throw. If you don't know what to do, I'll hit the button on the quarterback and feel okay about it.
So I am right now in the dead zone right here. Everybody's gone that I basically feel is going to make a big impact. I'm going to go with Jalen Knoll simply because he's in a position in Houston where he has the opportunity to step right in to that slot role and be the guy, right? We know that Nico's going to be downfield. We know it's going to take a little while for Jaden Higgins to adjust to that X spot, that X role. Jalen Knoll, I think, can make, especially with his route running ability, can make a very positive impact fairly quickly. Kind of in the mode that a healthy Ladd McConkey did last year. I think as long as Jalen Knoll goes into the season without a whole lot of injury bugs coming from camp, I think he can make a close to the line of scrimmage impact very early. So I just yesterday finished. I took over an orphan a couple years ago, or last year was the first season. Just finished the draft this year. Started at the 103 with Ted McMillan. I had the 107. My clock started at 2:45 in the morning, and I woke up at 2 in the afternoon and it auto drafted me Quinshawn, which I wasn't unhappy about, but I rather would have gone with Dart there. I grabbed Trey Harris. I grabbed Kyle Williams. And then I took Jalen Milroe. And what Jalen Milroe allowed me to do, it's a super flex league. I was already sitting on Hurts and Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love, a bunch of quarterbacks. What that Jalen Milroe pick allowed me to do was later on in the draft, I went ahead and traded Love for a whole bunch of assets, including a bunch of 26 and 27 seconds, which if you don't know already, seconds are incredibly valuable because they are good to pick, and also they help to supplement trade offers. They're very, very valuable, and you should be hoarding as many seconds as possible. There was a little bit of pushback in the league chat about not getting any first Jordan Love, but what I wound up getting was the equivalent of very, very valuable assets that I can use to add to make 2027 first happen. and that was my whole goal. So it wasn't straight out like a 2026 first and some other extras. It was a bunch of assets that can combine to get me into.
And that was in the past week, you said?
The draft ended yesterday.
Oh, nice. I actually 4 days ago traded away Jordan Love. I traded him straight up for Saquon Barkley. I have a pretty loaded team where I probably already had the top running backs, but I was like, let me get the number one running back. I'm on the clock here. I don't hate it, but my first thought was also about the first man. Go.
So I wound up coming out of that draft with Tet McMillan. Sorry, Tetaroa. He doesn't want to be called Tet. You can call him T-Mac or Tetaroa. Quinshawn, Trey Harris, Kyle Williams, Jalen Milroe, Harold Fannin, DJ Giddens, Dante Thornton, and Brashard Smith.
Nice. Yeah. No, I mean it's tough because usually when you give up a quarterback, you better have a good quarterback room already, or plan to get one. Because when I traded away Jordan Love, I turned right around and traded for Matthew Stafford, and I brought that up because you were talking about the second round picks, and I was able to just get Stafford with a 2027 second round pick, and I actually had a package with a bunch of other thirds that landed me Pacheco and Jacoby Myers. I basically gave away 3/3 in a second for Stafford, Pacheco, and Myers. So it's like my team's already loaded. I just wanted to make sure I had some depth. None of those guys are starting for me, just with how good this team is. But neither are those that 1 second in 2027 or these thirds out in the distant future. So yeah, you can get assets. And the guy I traded with, he was a rebuilder that just took over the team last week. So his mind was solely focused on, I need draft picks. Our draft is in 2 days. I don't care what. Like, he even kind of did a lowball trade and got rid of Trevor Lawrence for 110 and 210, which I thought was kind of low valued. But it's one of those things where when you see a new manager in the league, that I don't blame that other person for just going to get Trevor Lawrence. I didn't have it first because I've already mortgaged everything to get my players.
Blood in the water.
Yeah, exactly. Like, as soon as someone gets in there in the league, I was the first person to do a trade with them because that's what you got to do. You just right off the rip, like, hey, let's make a deal.
Yeah.
Welcome to the league.
The other part of acquiring those seconds and not asking for first, I did ask for a first, and the guy said this is likely his last year in the league, and he didn't want to pay for 2027.
Wow. Okay.
So I adjusted, fell back, did the seconds. So there were two things. Number one, I was not aggressive so that I could make the deal. That's the first aspect of it. The second aspect is, and I did a show last week on a different channel, and we had Joe Kuvatakis, who's a good friend of the program, over at the Undroppables, and we were talking about making trades in Dynasty. And one of the things that he pointed out is that sometimes you go into a trade and you lose the trade. Go ahead and lose the trade, because what that does is it gives the rest of the league the impression that they maybe can take advantage of you, and it will make them more likely to be willing to make a deal. And then you can start getting in there, and they know that they have you on the hook, so you can start adding your thirds, you can start adding your fourth, your supplemental, just kind of sweetening the deals that you're with the assets that you're acquiring. So now everybody in this league is like, well, look at this guy. He gave up Jordan Love for a bunch of seconds and stuff. We can make a deal with him. So I can totally take advantage of that and set. Oh, and we got
someone in the chat saying, "Who the hell is Landler?" Meta Tactics by Biggs. Exactly. That's the stuff you got to go to Undroppables to subscribe for. So leave the stream, go subscribe to Undroppables, come back, and that's awesome. And even last week, I had a team that they had been in the league for 2 years, but we all started the league as new players. Not me, but I was trying to get friends into it. And a guy, I guess, overnight decided he wanted to rebuild, and I saw him do some crazy trade. And I actually was laughing at my co-manager. I was like, "What is this guy doing?" And while I'm laughing, a different league may gets in and does a second trade where the guy gets rid of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm like, whoa. So then I just start firing off trades, and I got a pretty good haul, like a cheap Jared Goff for like a second round pick. I was like, sure. Like, this guy just gave away his whole team. But like, don't be laughing. Go in there and get your hands dirty, roll your sleeves up, and get some trades done.
Yeah. We got
I like that reverse psychology, though. Crazy, man.
We got Jamie in the chat with a question on the clock in a best ball dynasty startup. What do you think about Shipley versus Ford? I'm smashing Shipley. I'm grabbing Shipley everywhere that I can. His comp for me in terms of physicality and talent is Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm not saying that he's gonna do that statistically, but he's a little bit bigger than Gibbs and just as athletic. He doesn't have the draft capital that Gibbs does, but athletically he has a very, very similar profile. I came out with that last year and was picking him up everywhere that I could. He had his rookie sit behind like the RB1 this year. If Saquon had a lot of usage last year, a lot of times what we see is guys that have over 300 touches, they start to break down over the next year. Will Shipley, the Eagles moved off of Kenneth Gainwell. Will Shipley is the RB2 in that backfield. And if anything happens to Saquon, Will Shipley is going to step right in, and physically he is going to be able to have a fantastic season. Jerome Ford is about to just outright lose his job to Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson. So you got to smash Shipley on that one.
Well said. All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining this draft, by the way. Really appreciate it. And we can do a quick little breakdown. You know, it's June, and things are changing. You know, for one, all the ADPs finally caught up to since probably you and I last did a mock draft together. And so I was first here, went with Ashton Genty, Mecca Buka. I thought it fell to me at the 2-1. Jalen Milroe, just for the quarterback upside. Trevor Etienne and Ty Felton, third-round wide receiver to the Minnesota Vikings. So I felt good about getting Felton at the 5th pick there. I think
absolutely.
I mean, like, I've seen it go a lot earlier. Sure, I'll just take a guy who's going to start in the next year or two. And Etienne's in that. Oh, go ahead.
I'm trying to acquire as many Felton shares as I can. He has an opportunity with Jordan Addison to take over that wide receiver 2 spot in the Vikings offense. I've been watching some of JJ McCarthy's camp video, and the dude is special. We knew that coming out of the combine.
Nice.
I got sniped for him. I was in a startup. I got a trade offer, and I thought I could move back 5 or 6 picks and grab McCarthy as my QB3. And the next pick was McCarthy, and the guy who traded to me felt really bad. But so I'm huge on Ty Felton. I love him going forward. He's going to be an asset that hits in a couple years, maybe a 3rd-year breakout, maybe a 2nd-year breakout if they move on from Jordan Addison, who still has the legal problems upcoming and all that stuff. I also love the Trevor Etienne pick. Right now in that Panthers backfield, Chuba is the man. And they did sign Rico Dowdle to a free agent deal, but his contract, if you look at it, is actually a cuttable contract. And there's a chance for Trevor Etienne to be the 3rd down receiving back to come in, as long as he shows out in camp and shows that he can participate in pass blocking and stuff like that. Watching him at the Senior Bowl, the dude has downfield skills as a receiver, and I'm pretty high on him, and he does have an opportunity. You saw that right there, 5'8", 198. He's not going to be your 3rd down bell cow guy, but he could definitely be a guy that gives you some supplemental points out of the flex spot as a receiving back, and I like that pick too, especially at 4th and 5th round value for those 2 guys. Those were pretty good smashes.
Appreciate it. Well, we can keep rolling here, and
I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to assess the draft. We can give our MVPs who we think smashed, whatever. But I also want to talk about what to do after the draft, because there's not a lot of content that's geared for that. Maybe we can do it in next week's show, but I do want to talk about it a little bit here.
Well, we can do it now. We don't, man. Yeah, the recaps we do that all the time, man. I happen to have waivers opening up tonight in the league, so I can use the advice right now. It's a little timely for me. That it happens to be the IDP one, so a little bit of a different beast there. But still, that's totally valid. I was watching the fantasy football show. I'm in the league with Smitty over there, and he, he loves to trade for someone else's full load of fab. So he wants to have 200% of the normal fab amount, and but then he likes to just go all in on whoever the offseason waiver wire guy is immediately, and just have no doubt that he has that person, since he kind of feels like after that there's only like one true league winner that's out in the offseason. But we've seen some seasons where there's maybe one or two guys. But what are your thoughts on post-draft, preseason player acquisition?
So I really enjoy the first waiver period after the rookie draft, because it's a chance to kind of capitalize on the guys that didn't get picked. And there are a couple different ideas of what you can do with your fab dollars. The aforementioned Joe Kuvatakis. Coach.
Yeah, he got us both.
I'm in multiple leagues with the guy, and he winds up blowing his entire fab budget right after the draft. So that first rookie waiver wire, that first waiver wire post rookie draft, he is spending all of his fab. And so I asked him about it on our show. I was like, what have you seen over the years? Because I noticed this is a trend for you. You tend to use all of your fab in that first waiver period after the rookie draft. What are some of the advantages and the disadvantages that you see? And he said, honestly, the only disadvantage is the fact that moving forward, you're not really participating in any of the guys that are going to cost fab. Now, we know that there are some leagues that require a dollar bid. There are some leagues that don't require any fab to be spent. So check your league settings, because obviously you're going to want to be in a league that has zero, because then you can still pick people up. They just have to be passed on by everybody else that doesn't want to spend money. But the only disadvantage is that you aren't going to be in on the new thing as it pops up, right? So go get your guy. Just go get your guy. But the thing is that you can trade down the line for more fab. So if you really, really need to have that fab, there are going to be some bench guys that you can just trade straight up for $10, trade straight up for $20. Guys that are never going to crack your lineup, that may not, if you think about it, another owner is going to be sitting there and be like, all I have to do is give up $10 and I get a player. Doesn't matter if that player is going to be on the field. Yeah. Sometimes a player for money is worth more than a player for another player, right?
Yeah.
So if you need to recover some fab throughout the season, you definitely can trade off assets to do that. So go ahead and just this one league we have $500 fab, and I want to say it was Taj Brooks, and his bid was $432.
Smart. I can't blame him, because that's a one injury away player that if for some reason he stayed available and then a Chase Brown injury occurs, everyone will be blowing all their fab on him anyway.
Right.
And I've done this strategy actually in the Player Profiler Patreon leagues when I first took over an orphan there. And I've been doing that every offseason. I think I already have no fab there. Because some of our drafts, they're not even 5 rounds. That's the problem. We're doing these 5-round mocks. I've already done multiple drafts where they're only 4 rounds, and I'm just I don't know why they're only 4 rounds. So then there's all these players I like available. So I'm like, let me get this one, this one, this one, this one. So 117 out of 200 on Taj Brooks for Jamie. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was looking at it and I was like, okay, if I go $75, that's roughly 15% of fab. I was looking at it that way, so I obviously lost out. I got every other guy that I targeted in that league except for Taj Brooks, and he was obviously
That's what I struggle with the most. The percentage thing. Back in my younger day, I would look at the football guys' articles and they would put percentages, and I'm just like, I don't know. It seems very like each league has its own economy type of a
Sure.
situation where
Right.
these
Like
percentages, like, I don't know, man.
there were like
You want a player, you got to go get them.
there were 6 waiver pickups in a row that were all $69 bids.
Oh, that's just being
Right?
funny. Yeah, I love
Every
it.
league has its own market.
I actually picked up Kendra Miller last week in a trade for $2 fab. It was the last $2 I had left, and it was either 2 or 10 out of 1,000, so didn't matter at all.
Right.
And
And does that
I have Alvin Kamara, and I'm the current champ, so I was like, I'll just take him.
I love Kendra Miller, especially for $2. That you can't because
Yeah,
if
they were
something
like,
happens
see ya.
if something happens to Kamara and like mid-season and Kendra Miller is named the starting running back, you're not getting him for $2 fab.
Yeah. No, that's a great talking point. You really don't ever hear too much about it, and it's just one of those things that we all deal with the waivers and a lot of the communications about a lot of other things. So, what any other things we're missing when it comes to that? I mean, like definitely, obviously, trade for fab as needed, but I mean, what about the drop aspect? That's a really tough part as well. Like, yeah, you want to drop the worst guys in theory, but is it, you're less likely to drop a quarterback if you're down to 2 guys you're debating between. Like, hey, I'll take this backup quarterback versus this backup receiver or whatever it might be. Anything at that level is.
The first thing that I do after the draft is I start taking the players that I would normally that the players that I want to move off the roster to make room for my new rookies, and I offer them for mid-round picks in later drafts. So I'll have like a Jalen Tolbert, who I mean he scored. He was in the like 160 point range last season, so roughly 10 points per game. That's not I mean he's probably not going to crack a whole lot of lineups, and a bunch of that was spike weeks. It wasn't consistent production, but somebody could see that as a valuable asset that's worth, I mean, just throw it out there for a 27 third, because it's 2 years down the road, and guys are getting somebody that is going to be able to produce right away. So rather than just cutting people, I take all those cut candidates and I offer them around the league so that I can get at least, a second, third, fourth round pick back in future drafts. Then once all of that happens, I go ahead and cut the guys loose that aren't really going to be doing anything.
Yeah, and you're tapped in, so it's likely you have some good players that oh man, I have so many good players I got to cut, and I genuinely have had that situation. So you definitely see what's out there. And one other thing I wanted to add is sometimes people do feel like, I don't know the exact best way to say it, but it's almost like there's a hole burning in your pocket to set your lineup, but you don't really need to because it's the off season. And maybe on Sleeper it kind of locks your lineup if you're over that amount. You don't have to make those cuts right away. You can wait and see if there's an injury that pops up to just make them a smidge more valuable than they were before you made that cut. But the other thing that I do personally, because I'm that type of person that likes to kind of see my lineup, I just set it before the rookie draft's over, before I become over to where it's locked after the draft. So I just have my guys that I want, just set my team how I want. And yeah, maybe you draft the rookie that is going to end up being your lineup. But it's one of those things where you got to have some patience is what we're really saying. Don't just cut as soon as the draft ends. Every one of these drafts I've been in about 12 so far. There's just mass cuts right after. And it's like, there's some guys I'm like, oh, I putting in the claim.
Right. But it also depends on your commissioner and how your commissioner deals with the settings, because I have a particular commissioner who right after the draft, he's like, you guys have 2 days to get your lineups in order or whatever.
Okay.
So sometimes, like sleeper, technically you don't really have to do anything until right before the season starts, right? It'll say like you're three players over the roster limit. That doesn't matter until lineups actually have to be set in week one, technically. But sometimes you have a Commissioner Gordon. Thanks, Coach.
Can I just get my last pet peeve, man?
Yeah.
Free agency, just free for all, is my most hated thing post draft of all fantasy football. When the draft ends and there's no locked waivers and people can just start grabbing guys, I'm mad. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Like, and the funny thing is, I'm way more likely to be grabbing these guys than anyone else because I'm literally doing fantasy football show right now. But the problem is, I don't think it's fair, and it shouldn't be like that. Like
there shouldn't be open free agency.
Yeah, there's at least two of them that I'm in. I'm like, come on. And some people like, it's not that serious. Who's available? And guess who's available? Taj Brooks and a lot of these guys.
Right.
Like,
yeah. The league I just finished it's Dynasty Trade Calculator, listener leagues, and it's John Bosch and Bob Gilchrist and Russ, the guys from Fantasy Cares. And
nice.
There's a week-long waiting period from after the draft finishes till the waivers get run. So that gives everybody time to listen to the Dynasty Trade Calculator show.
Nice.
But I do want to try and like go over some of these. So we did a 5-round draft. In the 5th round, we had let me get it bigger and big in it. We had Tyfel and Ollie Gordon, Lan Larison, if you know, you know, Gunnar Helm, Dante Thornton, Xavier Restrepo, Dylan Gabriel, Mitchell Evans, Quinn Ewers, Savion Williams, Isaiah Bond, Jalen Lane. In this 5th round, in the 4th round, in the 4-round rookie drafts, I tend to see Dante Thornton, Ollie Gordon, and Savion Williams not being drafted in 4-rounders. Obviously, that 5th round, they're going to go. Those are 3 guys that if you're in a 4-round draft, I would absolutely target and blow your fab on those guys, and Taj Brooks, of course.
Ollie Gordon, why Biggs is a genius, guys. Like
Ollie Gordon is 2 years, or yeah, basically he had one down season on a terrible Oklahoma State team, and he's got the profile to be a top 24, top 12 running back in the league. Dante Thornton ran a very limited route tree at Tennessee, but he's 6'5" with 4.3 speed. If during the next few years as an NFL player with NFL nutrition and weight schedule, he adds 20 pounds, he's exactly the size of Calvin Johnson with 4.3 speed. Okay. Now he ran a limited route tree. Most of his, he ran a lot of 9s and a lot of comebacks. I think it was like 40% curl routes. But when he was at Washington State or Oregon, he ran a more varied route tree. It was the Tennessee offense that kept him kind of bound up. What he's doing in camp right now with the Raiders is he's running with the ones. This is a rookie who is immediately making an impact in OTAs as a wide receiver with the ones, as the X receiver with 4.3 speed and one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL in Geno Smith. So to get that guy who has a potential to go as I think he went in the 4th round, a 4th rounder who's going either undrafted or in the 5th in your rookie drafts, and he has the potential to be starting on day 1 as a rookie for the Raiders. That's a premium target.
That's huge upside. Biggs, let me ask you a question. You made me think of a lot of things there. One question: can he become the wide receiver 2 on this team?
Not this year.
And I don't mean receiver 2. So you think still Vesh?
No. I think that there's a possibility that he could become the second highest receiving player on the radar. It's going to be the
Oh,
Brock
even
Bowers show.
okay, yeah. So even
It's
in
going
the
to be the
future,
Brock Bowers show.
above Myers, maybe in the future, but yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
This year, between Besh and Thornton, it's just not a foregone conclusion that it's the best show at the number 2 wide receiver spot.
maybe in terms of target share,
Okay,
but in terms of because
he limited route tree, yeah.
But what Thornton's going to do is his points per reception is going to be better than Besh's. He's going to have big time play touchdowns. He's going to have a higher ADOT. All of that stuff. Besh is going to kind of be an analog to Jacoby Myers. They're very similar. He's going to be the power slot. He's going to work closer to the line of scrimmage than Thornton is. And Thornton might be one of those guys that he's going to be fantastic in best ball because he's going to have those Alec Pierce type. Right now, I would say that he and Alec Pierce are probably I would bet money that he and Alec Pierce are going to score in fantasy like very similarly this year. So wherever Alec Pierce goes, Dante Thornton's going to be right there. As far as participation, it's going to be Besh in a couple of years once Jacoby Myers is gone. But Dante Thornton has the ability to increase his route tree and become that dude, especially if he starts like working on his bench press and starts like shoving people off Calvin Johnson style. If he can burn you or push you off or out jump you, there's no reason not to throw the guy the ball. So even though he's a 4th rounder and we can't bank on that bad of draft capital, the potential is there for him to completely outplay his draft spot.
Yeah, and let me ask the other question, and just to that final point real quick. Yeah, I mean the hit rate though of a 3rd and a 4th rounder, they're all similar. They're not amazing, so anything is possible there between him and other picks you're taking. So like when Biggs is talking about this 5th round, I mean, yeah, it's almost like a visual of the potential waiver wire for your leagues because these guys are generally out there. But since we're talking about it, is there a guy that if you're in a 4th rounder, let me actually make sure I walk away with this guy who may hit waiver wires otherwise, but probably shouldn't be hitting the waiver wires? You understand what I'm asking there? Like if you know you're in a 4th rounder, there's going to be guys available that aren't in your other leagues, but this is a guy that you don't want to take the chance on someone else bidding up for.
Right. And so in that 5th round, Ty Felton, Ollie Gordon.
Yeah, I felt like Felton shouldn't have fallen.
Dante Thornton, Savion Williams. And those are future guys. Those are guys that like they're not going to do you much good, but they're perfect taxi squad candidates. I'm surprised Rondé Gadsden fell to the 412. That's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, blame Chev. Chev took A.O. Manor. Yeah, he had to make a homer pick, but Gadsden's his guy.
And Jordan James has actually over the last couple weeks gone from going undrafted to he's 4th round here. He went 3rd round in almost all in 3 out of the 4 leagues of the session that I just did. So I personally like Isaac Guerrero better at this point, but Jordan James, we talked about it. He outplayed Bucky Irving at Oregon, and everybody's looking for this year's Bucky Irving. Well, Jordan James was in the same system and was better.
And ultimately those guys get injured in that Shanahan system. Everyone knows it, and they got rid of Jordan Mason. And guess what? When Guerrero got a shot, he got injured as well. So
yeah,
kind of makes sense.
Do you want to? Hey, Instacart is in the building. I wanted Thornton and Rondé Gadsden. Yes. Good job, Art. I was going to see if you wanted to bring up the list of players that weren't drafted in this one, and we could talk about a couple of the ones that I don't know if that's going to be visible.
I don't think that's an option.
Okay,
I still have them in the queue or something. Yeah,
I'll just kind of go over them real quick. Damian Martinez is the first one. I'm not huge on Damian Martinez. He was less efficient than Blake Corum at Michigan, and he's in a backfield now that has Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet in front of him. But the next guy down is Jimmy Horn.
And I figured it out. I just make a copy of the league, and it hasn't started yet, so it still has all the players up.
There it is. Jimmy Horn is second in this list, and I absolutely love him. Now, right now, Carolina has an absolutely loaded wide receiver room with Adam Thielen and Xavier Liga and Jalen Coker and their first-round pick, T-Mac. But watching Jimmy Horn work, that dude, and Hunter Renfrow. Let's not forget Hunter Renfrow.
He looked good. I saw some clips. He looked good. He can always catch.
The route master. So, but Jimmy Horn reminds me a lot in his route running ability of Hunter Renfrow. So if there's somebody to like make a dart throw on, throw out a little bit of fab in that post draft waiver wire. Grab yourself some Jimmy Horn, stick him on your taxi squad, because you never know what's going to happen down the line. We also have Khalil Mullings. We don't know what's going to happen with Tajay Brooks, Tajay Spears. I don't know that those names kind of confuse me. Tajay and Taj. So yeah, Khalil Mullings, good profile, could turn into something down the line. 6'2", 226. That's exactly like what you want to see out of a running back as far as their potential physically to be able to smash down the line. Mafia.
Yeah.
Jordan Watkins.
Yeah, people are in on Mafia because it's still undecided in Dallas what happens, really.
And I want Mafia wherever I can. And then Jordan Watkins. So the big story out of Ole Miss this year was Trey Harris. But Jordan Watkins had himself a year. Ole Miss, their offense was cooking. Jackson Dart was cooking. Trey Harris was cooking. Jordan Watkins finds himself in San Francisco where he's got Ricky Pearsall, who is chronically injured. Jacob Cowing is a fantastic route runner, but because of the draft capital, we don't know what the 49ers plan is for him. Juwan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk. But then you got this kid, Jordan Watkins, sitting there. He's absolutely worth a waiver claim to me. Right below him is my favorite backup quarterback in this entire rookie class, and that's Kyle McCord. So Kyle McCord goes to Philly. He's got a running quarterback ahead of him in Jalen Hurts. We know the shelf life, or have an idea of the shelf life of running quarterbacks. It's not out of the question that Jalen Hurts is going to suffer a catastrophic injury, and it could happen this year. You always want to have the backup quarterback for a quarterback that is running and putting himself in harm's way more than anybody else. That's Jalen Hurts. That's Lamar Jackson. Unfortunately, Baltimore never really rosters a quarterback that you want. They're like, we're either Lamar or bust. But if Kyle McCord, who led the NCAA in completions and yards last year, gets an opportunity, the only thing standing in his way right now is Tanner McKee. Now, there are people who said, "Who is Lan Larry? What is a Lan Larison?" Well, what's a Tanner McKee? Tanner McKee has done nothing, will do nothing, and Kyle McCord is going to be the QB2. I'm not worried about Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Kyle McCord is the dude. He's big. He's experienced. He was at Ohio State. He led like the #1 offense in college football last year at Syracuse. And he's a local kid from Pennsylvania. And that Eagles coaching staff said they've had their eye on Kyle McCord since high school.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They love him. So he's absolutely, if I'm not coming out of the draft with him, I'm absolutely prioritizing him.
In real football, remember, Hurts missed the game. Kenny Pickett came in. Pickett got injured also, and I think they were on their third quarterback in one of those games. And luckily for them, the Hurts came back and was fine. But it was a rough run they had for a stretch.
Now, there's two other guys that I want to talk about, and that's Efton Chisholm from the Patriots. There is an opportunity for everybody in that Patriots wide receiver room to come out and camp and show, to prove it. Stephon Diggs is going through it. Kyle,
Oh, come
Kyle
on.
Williams. Kyle Williams has some juice, and obviously, like I'm drafting Kyle Williams. Then you got Javon Baker and Jalen Polk, who have shown nothing, and coming into these OTAs, the videos coming out of them dropping passes right away. They couldn't
No.
get separation on the field last year. They couldn't get snap share last year, and now they're dropping passes in OTAs on the machine. And then you have Demario Douglas, who's kind of the de facto target leader. I love Hunter Henry, but as far as the wide receiver room is concerned, Efton Chisholm, who is an undrafted free agent, does have an opportunity to kind of jump up above some of these guys. This is a new coaching staff. They're not beholden. This new GM, new Josh McDaniels as offensive coordinator, and Mike Vrabel as who we've seen Mike Vrabel do some weird things with he plays his guys. It doesn't matter like where they're from. He plays his guys. And if Efton Chisholm becomes one of Vrabel's guys, he could very well find himself in the mix in the wide receiver room. Perfect candidate for your taxi squad. And then the last one, and you all know this is coming, Lan Larison. Grab him in waivers. Nobody knows who Lan Larison is. And he's an undrafted free agent, but he's with the Patriots, and he's exactly a Mike Vrabel like prototype. The guy is gritty. He's a rodeo rider. He's going to do everything on special teams. He's going to kind of have a career arc similar to Julian Edelman, probably, where he's just going to do the little things enough. He's going to be that team guy. He's going to like do the pass blocking stuff. He's going to work on special teams. And somehow he's going to find his way onto the field. And then his athleticism and his ability, like the dude has incredible contact balance. The dude is incredible in the open field. He's got wiggle. He's got hands. He was second in the NCAA behind, or no, maybe he had more. He had more passing yards than or receiving yards than Cam Scatabo. Cam Scatabo led FBS. Lan Larison led everybody. He had 800 something yards receiving and 1,400 yards rushing last year. He does look like an 80s porn star. But if you want somebody that nobody's going to spend a whole lot of fab on, nobody's going to draft him, throw him on your taxi squad and just sit on it for a bit, because this dude is for real, and he's in the perfect situation. He couldn't have gone to a better coach than Mike Vrabel, who's going to see what Lan Larison does and be like, we have to keep this guy around.
Well, I love it for you, man. At least he's on a solid team. I think Reminder will be out of there next season or so, even though he got that contract, I believe, the year before. And yeah, it's going to be the Trayvon Henderson show, but absolutely could see them having Lan Larison be that second guy at some point. I'm just shocked that it's still at 0% rostered. I know it's not real. I know it's not real because you have them somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, and what's funny is like Chev we did a startup. Chev sniped him like let me see what round he went in.
Just to trade him to you later. I mean, once Henderson misses 1 week with the flu or something, then it's going to be the Lan Larison show. Because one fumble from Amandre Stevenson, Mike Vrabel's not going to have it.
I know that everybody that doesn't follow me, in every league where there aren't people that pay attention to me, I have Lan Larison. In every league that I'm in that people pay attention to me, they're sniping him from me all over the place, which is fine with me, because the only thing that I want is to see that 0% number go up. I just want to make sure that he's being drafted. He went in round 20. Before Kareem Hunt, Kendre Miller, Isaiah Davis, Phil Maffa, Keaton Mitchell, Nick Chubb. So that's
like, I mean, those guys aren't really going to do much. I heard some love for I believe on RotoWire from Jim Coventry shouting out one of the what was the last name you just gave? Anyway, I just lost it. But yeah, some of those. Oh, Keaton Mitchell. I was like,
Yeah.
man, because people are, anyone who's in the running back room, it's not unrealistic that they get some burn. And actually in the Ravens situation, Henry only gets 50% of the snap share anyway. So Land Larison, he's not behind Derrick Henry, so I could totally see him getting on the field. If he shows out, he can do something. Him and even the Chisholm guy, I believe he went to the same school as Cooper Kupp, right? Eastern Washington.
Yeah. They have the
You
red
gotta have
field.
you gotta have some grit and just keep grinding. And everything you told me about Lane Larison, he's got that. So I'm sure he'll stick on some rosters. And it's honestly just feels like a Patriots guy to be honest.
I do love Keaton Mitchell though. Watching him do squats
Okay.
yesterday, and we know what he's done. He's been hurt his entire career, but what he's done on a per touch basis is like elite level production.
Yeah.
If he gets a chance ever, we're looking at a huge season. Brian Seven wants to do a team by team review.
All right. Well, we'll give it to you. We got about 10 minutes.
Sure.
So let's do that. And let me do it on the other page. Let's go back. So 102, we got coach's team. He went with Marion Hampton. He got Jackson Dart in the second round, Bashal Tootin, Brashard Smith, and then Ollie Gordon. So absolutely, Omari Hampton. It's a great pick. It's very interesting seeing who goes with these 102s in these drafts. I had Ted McMillan going to draft yesterday, and I was like I was trying hard to trade for that 102, and I was like, oh, now I'll try to get the 103 so I can get Hampton. So I like the first pick. You can't complain about getting a first round quarterback in the second round there. That's a nice pick.
Jackson Dart's value to me is 106, and he's going at the turn.
And so Tootin, he's a guy where the fumbles have been an issue in college. First carry in offseason workouts was a fumble. We'll see how that progresses. But right now, the Coach Speak Index highlighted the interview where the coach was like, yeah, we really believe in Travis Etienne. He's done everything we've asked him to do. So who knows if that's like, yeah, we don't have any other options. So this is our guy now. We'll see what happens there. And Brashard Smith, we all love Brashard Smith. If you go to Uncovered NFL, that channel on YouTube, we only have one short on that channel, and it's about Brashard Smith. And that short just keeps going up by 1,000 views every time I check because Brashard Smith. We got a huge bump after the Chiefs drafted him. So
you want Jerick McKinnon in the Chiefs offense?
Yeah, that was such a nice run, Jerick McKinnon run, like out of nowhere, just super productive in his 30s. So what can a young Brashard Smith with that receiving profile do? Come on now.
Yep.
So let's move on. We talked about Ollie Gordon, a great stash pick there. So with your team, T-Mac here, I love that. Most confident I am in any wide receiver in this class just having consistent production, especially for these PPR leagues. So I'm good with it, and we're all big fans of Trey Harris. I made a questionable trading away Trey Harris and Pat Bryant and a second round pick to get Emeka Egbuka over the weekend. And I felt. I had Baker Mayfield, and I happened to be current champ, and I was just like, I'd rather just have this guy. I feel like I can see the path of the guys in front of them leaving the team, whereas and Emeka being the wide receiver 2, and maybe emulating that wide receiver 1 Godwin type of usage that we've seen in the past. Whereas Trey Harris, I really like Lad McConkey. So he doesn't have to be the number 1 to be great, but the volume,
I like Quentin Johnston too.
The volume's not but to me, the volume's not the same. Johnson had a huge target game. I'm not going to bank on that weekly. So to me, Baker's is a higher volume player. I'd rather be attached to that. But I know it's kind of a questionable trade. All I really need is one of those non-Trey Harris pieces to kind of flop, and I think I win on the value because before you had a name to those picks, 2 seconds, and I got Pat Bryant in the 4th round, so 2 seconds in the 4th. For Emeka Egbuka, that's a trade I probably would have done since he was drafted at the 107, I think, in that draft.
Egbuka is He's a smash play. Coming into last season, there were a couple wide receivers that I had my eye on for second half of the season breakouts or later, and Jalen McMillan was one of those. There is a scenario in the next 3 years, so target Buka's third year breakout or whatever, where Godwin and Mike Evans are not in that offense anymore, and that offense belongs to Emeka Egbuka and Jalen McMillan. We knew Jackson Smith-Njigba when he came out. We knew it wasn't going to be an immediate impact. If you remember that draft, everybody was talking about Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison, and and Jackson Smith-Njigba being the top 3 wide receivers in that class. And we knew Jordan Addison was going to make the soonest impact. Jackson Smith-Njigba was going to be the best of the 3, and Quentin Johnston was, a little bit overvalued. Well, what has happened? Exactly that. Jordan Addison made an impact as a rookie. Jackson Smith-Njigba had his breakout the second year, and Quentin Johnston is still trying to adjust, but he had a nice year last year, and I like him to take another step forward. The Chargers offense does have faith in Quentin Johnston. They changed his usage. Greg Roman changed the way that Quentin Johnston ran routes last year over his rookie season. He got more participation in the routes that he was actually running. And I think that Trey Harris is going to take some time as well to learn. It's going to take him running some sacrificial X routes, and they're still targeting Quentin Johnston before Trey Harris actually lives up to his name. But I love that young receiving core, and I want to have all 3 of those wide receivers on my roster.
That is an awesome young receiving core. You're totally right. It's like just how young they are. It's kind of amazing. And the tight ends and the running backs, the whole offense is like average age 23 maybe, and Herbert's the oldest guy.
Right. And he has the opportunity to throw. I mean, if it was a different system than Greg Roman, he could throw 5,000 yards. But
the ability is totally there. You're right.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on. You definitely hammered in these the other picks you had made. So we'll go to Chev, resident Titans War Daddy, and he gets his guy Ward, and Jaden Higgins, Jarquez Hunter, Alec Manor, and Gunnar Helm out of Texas. So that might be a final homer pick there, since Helm ended up going to the Titans, and who knows if they want to pay Chico Okonkwo. Very athletic, but 6'3" tight ends. It's always kind of team dependent what they want to do usage wise, and they've gone through probably multiple coaches since they drafted Chig.
And,
so who
and
knows?
He's never had a quarterback.
So true. So all boats could rise with the tide that Ward brings in, and Alec as well. I mean, the same conversation we had about that last group of receivers, where in the future Ridley's going to be out of there. He's 30 right now, so maybe Alec does develop into something great there. And I think everyone feels pretty good about Jarquez. Like before the real draft happened, you and I we were doing a lot of drafts. We were just taking dark throw rookie running backs because it's just, if you don't know who to take, like you can probably get lucky that they'll have 1 week where the guy in front of them goes down and you can flip them for something. So if there's not a quarterback I like in that range, then I'd rather go running back like he did there, and I thought that was a pretty decent pick. And other than that, I mean, Jaden Higgins, I think year 1 he's primed to be the wide receiver 2, because Christian Kirk, he's been banged up. Abdominal surgeries, groin surgeries, whatever it is. I don't expect him to be a bill of health, and nor do I think Tank Dell comes back. So it's going to be on Nico, and he's going to need some help. So if Higgins can step up and practice,
He's got those Cyclone boys.
Yeah. Either way, one of them I think can step up for him. Chev just co-hosted a show with Pete here, Supernova 38, and he goes Travis Hunter, who will be the wide receiver 2 on the Jags. Get Cam Scatterboot, that second pick. Then he goes DJ Giddens, one of the best handcuffs in the league. We've seen Jonathan Taylor be injured. Isaac Texla, a guy who got multiple third-round draft picks traded to acquire him by the Lions in that 70th pick range. So they believe in him. So in the 4th round, that's kind of the same thinking I was having with the Vikings wide receiver Felton. It's like
Yep.
these guys were drafted in the third round. We're getting them super late. At some point, I know the hit rate is the hit rate, but I'll take that over a lot of these other guys that are drafted a little bit later. So
I
I thought
love
these were
this
some good
draft.
picks. He had a Thornton as well, the guy you called out before. So
I
yeah,
love
I
this
thought it was a
draft.
good draft.
I think it might be my favorite. Travis Hunter is going to do Travis Hunter things. I love Cam Scatabo. I think he has an opportunity to take over the Giants running back room this year. DJ Giddens is in the perfect spot right behind Jonathan Taylor. I love Tesla and I love Dante Thornton. I
Yeah,
love for the potential to produce in a backup role immediately and the future prospects. I love that little
and
stack
one
right
more
there.
thing on Scatabo. This team showed that they're willing to let the rookie take over the starting job.
Yeah.
Last year, they showed that. So there's nothing that tells me that they're just not just going to do it by merit and who they think can get that job. So, all right, good calls there. Quinshon Judkins, he's one of my favorite running backs in this class. Love the Raz and all of that. Matthew Golden, Jaden Blue, a couple Texas guys there, and Will Howard until Roger signs. That's going to be a good pick, and Xavier Restrepo, free agent there. He gets picked up with the Titans. He has that school connection with Cam Ward, so maybe he gets a role. We'll see. But overall, any of these teams that ended up with one of those top running backs, I like their ability to walk away with having increased their ability to score points for their team in this next season. They're not going to have to wait too long because a lot of these spots are just wide open for Judkins to produce or Henderson. I will say I usually see Henderson go ahead of Judkins,
Yeah.
so that's a call there. I've seen some. I've seen on some pods like maybe just one that Chev hosts with the FFD Austin Abbott. He took Quinshon, I believe, ahead of Travion. So it doesn't always happen, but I'm definitely in on the profile. I just feel like Henderson, all he has to do is not fumble, and that team will be happy because Stevenson was losing his job to Antonio Gibson the last season. So I just feel like that job is whittling away. But with Quinshon, it's already his job, so I totally get it. I do love those PPR guys. They can be lethal, and if everything lines up perfectly.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I try and push back on is when people say that running backs that don't catch a lot of passes in college aren't going to catch a lot of passes in the NFL. And the prime example of that is Tyrone Tracy and Antonio Gibson were converted wide receivers to the running back position. Antonio Gibson doesn't have a 50 catch season in the NFL. Josh Jacobs averaged, I want to say 20 catches at Alabama. He had fewer catches than Quinshon Judkins did. He has a 50 catch season in the NFL. He's averaged like 30 catches a season. So I'm not, or 39. I'm not worried about Quinshon Judkins not being a receiving back. He definitely has the ability to do that. We just didn't see it in that system that he was in.
Yeah, and then to get the first round wide receiver in the middle of the in the middle of the second round, and Matthew Golden, that's still good value for what it's worth. Because there are times where, depending on what team I have, like in the very end of the first rounds, if it's not tight end premium, I'm struggling with some of these values. But with some second rounders, like I might rather trade them. But getting Golden here, I think is a great shot, regardless of how many points I think he's going to score. And then I think Blue, it's just he has to hit if you're taking him here in the third. I'm totally fine with any of these third round running backs just taking a running back. I just can't be like, oh yeah, he slammed it out of the park. I love the upside he could be starting day one. So out of any running
I
back, sure.
mean, Javonte is like
He's locked in.
He's
He's
the new
locked in.
Heat.
No, Javonte Williams is locked in as a starter.
Yeah.
I've seen some good stuff report wise for Javonte. So any draft you're in, and Javonte, that's the easy late pick that will produce some points for your team. Let's keep it rolling here.
Yep.
Remember, this is tight end premium, guys. So these tight ends did not really move as 0.75, so you would get 1.75 point plus an additional 0.75 if they make a catch there. So this guy gets Warren in the first, Jack Besh in the second, then Harold Brandon Jr. in the third, Devin Neal, and goes with Dylan Gabriel in the fifth.
Love it.
So yeah, I like it there. I did hear that Njoku may be working on a contract extension. We'll see if that comes to light. Either way, he's got some developing to do. Size wise, I don't expect him to ever be a blocker type role,
Nope.
but either way, not bad here in this format. And then we've got Travion Henderson. He goes at the 108. Kyle Williams, 2.8. We've got Shador Sanders, and then Jordan James and Mitchell Evans. So Sanders, we've been hearing that all the quarterbacks are getting reps in practice. I haven't talked to you about that. I'm totally against wasting breath on guys that I don't think they're going to actually get playing time, but it does seem like of all my years playing, this is a very, very wide open quarterback situation. And we've seen it where they just have no quarterback, really. Like, the team's just bad, and they're going to be picking first overall next year. But is this a guy that's still worth the stab here in the third round?
It depends. We have to look at the contracts. If Will Howard gets a bigger rookie contract, which I think he will, than Shador Sanders, then you have to lean towards Will Howard, and Joe Flacco is a starter. So I'm not into rostering a whole lot of QB3s.
Yeah. All right. But still,
especially spending a third round rookie pick on a QB3.
Yeah. But he goes all in on the Patriots with his first two picks, so hopefully that works out. I like the picks there. And Colson Loveland goes at the 1-9 to big smooth 4, then takes Tyler Shook. So, I mean, starting quarterback, I'll take it. I've seen Shook get flipped. My buddy sent me a text this morning of a Shook deal that he was shook by, because it was like, really, you're giving up. What was it? It was Tyler Shook, Dontavian Wicks in the second in 2026 for a first in 2026. Are you doing that? Are you going to receive a first if you give up your Shook, Wicks in the second?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, if I just don't see the long-term upside of a lot of quarterbacks, to be honest. But if you're telling me it's Shook, this is just a bad situation no matter what. It's like, even if he's good, eventually they have to replace Kamara and probably overpay Olave. Maybe they get a deal on him. I just don't see the team as being super complete. So I went out in that New Orleans situation.
In one league that I'm in, we had the 101, 201, 301. We went Genty, and then took Scotabo in the second, and then Shuck with the 301. This was before the Derek Carr retirement thing.
Okay.
Right. But let's think about this for a second. What is the big knock on Tyler Shuck? It's that he has a pretty extensive injury history. What just happened in New Orleans? That offensive line could not protect Derek Carr to the point where he got hurt so much in the last 2 years that he retired. And now I know I have a good feeling that Tyler Shuck is going to be the quarterback one in New Orleans on day one, and I don't hate that, throwing the ball down the field to Rashid Shaheed. He's got Juwan Johnson and Foster Moreau. He's got Chris Olave. He's got Kamara to dump off. I don't hate that, but I mean, you look at that injury history and you look at the history of the New Orleans offensive line, that's not a good recipe. So I'm willing to take that shot at the 301, especially in a league where we had to have a QB3. We didn't have any options. We have Dak, Hurts, and then nothing. So that was the best available there. So we weren't in an opportunity to get Ward or Dart. That was it. So we said, okay, 301, we'll take Shuck, but I don't think he has a long NFL career.
Yeah, I also got Shuck at 301 in a draft last week, so somehow he's still falling there. Okay, so and he also has Jalen Royals, KC wide receiver. I think regardless of whether guys are getting suspensions or injured, I think either way there's opportunity with Travis Kelce eventually leaving. I was saying it when Tyreek left, and I was probably wrong, but maybe I was just early that I think they're going in a different direction with the offense. But
Mhm.
what happened was they still did go heavy on Travis Kelsey, even though they found that Tyreek replacement, quote unquote, to have Rashee Rice. He got injured immediately, so they still were leaning heavy on Travis Kelsey. But I see this team in 2026, 2027 being a wide receiver first team. They're not going to turn to Noah Gray or the injured rookie or anyone else at tight end. I think it's going to be Pat Mahomes and his receivers and Royals. That could be a guy that they're turning to. And we talked about Josh Brooks already. And then Quinn Ewers, 5-star quarterback out of high school, let
Quinn
down in
Ewers
college. So
in 2030 is going to be Baker Mayfield.
boom. That's why I started with the 5-star thing. You've hammered it, and it's been bad so far. But he hasn't. None of these guys have played a snap yet, so
Right.
we can't say exactly what's going to happen here. So last few teams here at the 110, we've got R.J. Harvey, who's been I would say a big riser. People were in on him before the draft, but still here at the 110. He's got R.J. Harvey, then Elijah Arroyo for the tight end premium, Dylan Sampson, just in case, Kyle Monangai, I think is maybe 2026 play. Maybe they don't pay these other guys. We'll see what happens there. And then Savion Williams, another third round wide receiver that gets some late round rookie love here, but he's a gadget guy, so we understand what's going on there.
I have him in all my Devi leagues, but that's
Yeah, because he probably looked like a freak athlete in college. Like, gotta
yeah.
have this guy.
Yeah, he was great
Yeah.
in C2C, but now with the NFL promotion, it's not quite as promising.
He was like the known version of Dante Thornton, like
Yeah,
where a big guy that can move. But I knew his name. That's the only difference.
right, right.
All right, so Caleb Johnson, I feel like pre-draft, he was a very controversial player about where he went. He ends up going in the third round, so he's after a lot of these other running backs. I still see people planting their flag or keeping their flag planted on Caleb Johnson.
I would take him over Harvey.
Okay, is it the age? 24 years old for Harvey, I believe 20 for Caleb Johnson, 21 for Caleb Johnson.
That I wasn't even a consideration. I think Caleb Johnson in Pittsburgh is the perfect landing spot for him. His size profile is great. Yeah, I like him a lot.
Historically, Tomlin has had a workhorse back. As each year is progressing, we've seen, the workhorse back is dying out. Well, it's still been Tomlin doing the exact same thing. And there are some in the league, so it's still a thing. And to be honest, as much as we like Tyler Warren, he's going to be out of there too, unless they get him on some kind of contract extension in the next year or so. So either way, he's got a good long-term future ahead of him.
Yep.
All right, and then another tight end. I believe the third tight end taken, Mason Taylor, went in the second round in this draft and in real life. Pat Bryant goes, getting some Mike Thomas comparisons from the coach over there. And then we've got Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. He's getting a lot of hype as the RB you need in the Washington backfield. And Isaiah Bond, I almost asked a question about him earlier when I was like, are there guys that you need to walk away with? But I wasn't going to loop him in because he's not on a roster in the NFL yet. But still a guy who we thought had some talent. There's just a lot of guys. And that receiver, I'm not super interested in stashing a guy not on a team. Like, I'm probably still holding Lane Larson over him.
I love that the note on there is Isaiah Bond says he will break the 40-yard dash record.
And that's what it is.
he did not do that. He didn't get drafted, and he hasn't signed a contract, and he's got like legal problems. So, I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's a rough pick, especially in a mock when you just don't even have to do that. No one forced you to. But okay, and then the final team here, Luther Burden at the 112. Terrence Ferguson goes to LA Rams. He's here in the second round. Woody Marks. I like this pick. I believe they may have traded a third and 26 to get him in the fourth of this year's draft class. And Rondé Gatson got some good coach hype. He went in the fifth round in real life, fourth round here. And then with the final pick, Jalen Lane, who I've got on at least one team where I've got Jaden Daniels. But I think for years, we haven't seen a real running mate to Terry McLaurin, and they bring in Deebo Samuel, and I don't see anyone that loves Deebo Samuel. So if you don't love Deebo Samuel and McLaurin, who's 30, maybe he has 5 years left. He's an athletic type wide receiver. But McLaurin is very dimensional. He has a route running ability as well. So I think route runners do age well. It's only if you're only relying on that athleticism where I'm a little bit worried. If you're a route runner, he'll be fine. But it's not about McLaurin. I just don't think there's a wide receiver too. You had Olamide Zaccheaus balling out at the end of last season, but he didn't stay. So they're thirsty for a guy to maybe take over for Deebo in the next year or two. So why not take a shot on this guy?
It's Luke McCaffrey show.
Oh, can't forget about LMC there. So that is the end of the draft there. Another 60 picks in the books. We got 60 people watching. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Let them know where they can find you, Biggs.
I am at the Undroppables. I have a show every Wednesday called Unhinged where I just throw wild takes out there and showcase crazy stuff that I've seen on the internet. Wild arguments, whatever. I'm right here on Player Profiler now, plus Fridays at 4 p.m. with Chev and Tuesday mornings. You can also find me on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. We have a show called the Dynasty Pulse, which is a 5-host panel show. We always have a pretty good guest and run that for about an hour. It gets played on the radio in West Tennessee on 101.5, Talking Tennessee, and
awesome.
And also broadcast on the Undroppables Network. And then Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time, live Raiders Uncovered over on the Uncovered Network, run by the illustrious Dynasty F. Key and Mike Lindbergh. And Travis. We got a whole bunch of really good guys. If you want to do team-related content for your team, we're still looking for people that it's just NFL news. It's not fantasy related, but if you want to report weekly on your team, there's a lot of spots open. So hit Dynasty F Key up or me and say, hey, I'm a Panthers fan. I want to do a weekly show. I'm a Texans fan. I want to do a weekly show, and we'll onboard you. But that's it. At Big Boned FFB on Twitter, and shoot me a DM. I'd love to chat.
Yeah, just got Lions covered up there, which is awesome, by Aaron St. Dennis, I believe, who's doing the Fantasy Lab here on our network here at PPM Plus. I think that show is tomorrow night or something like that. So anyway, stick with us for all the shows. We got you covered every single day at Player Profiler now. Plus, you can find me here or at Dynasty Football Key or on X at Dynasty F Key. And appreciate you guys for watching, and subscribe. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.